This meeting is held remotely, can be viewed on local cable channel 1303 or on the internet by accessing townhallstreams.com and selecting Bucksport. Questions and comments can be submitted during this meeting by emailing slassard@bucksportmaine.gov or by calling 469-7368. Jacob?
Councilor Eastman.
Present.
Councilor Morrison.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette.
Here.
Mayor Stewart.
Here.
Councilor Ormsby.
Here.
Councilor Downs.
Here.
Councilor Rankin.
Here.
Next item is town council recognitions. I believe we have a continuation from our last meeting. Say Director Gagan or Sue?
Me. They're going to do the presenting or pretending we're all in the same room. And this one is in regard to the October 31st, 2021 life-saving event. On October 31st, 2021, Officers Gerald Lowe and Eric Marcel were the first on scene of an emergency ambulance call. The ambulance was on the way back from another call, but was not immediately available. And without missing a beat, they initiated CPR on the patient and utilized the AED on which they had been trained in an effort to resuscitate the person while they waited for assistance from the town's fire EMS professionals. Their actions were key in saving the life of the individual involved. They were able to do this work due to the cross-training received as part of Bucksport Public Safety. In Bucksport, police and fire EMS are not in silos. They're truly one big team. Officer Marcel was recognized at the 1/13/22 meeting for his role in this event. And tonight we are recognizing Officer Gerald Lowe for his role from the police side of the house to not only start the life-saving process, but to continue to assist after the arrival of fire EMS professionals. Thank you, Gerald, on behalf of the Bucksport Town Council and the town of Bucksport. We are fortunate indeed to have personnel such as yourself working on our behalf. I believe we have Officer Lowe and his small assistant receiving the presentation. Are we ready at public safety for the second presentations? Okay. These presentations are to two of our fire paramedic professionals for that October 31st, 2021 event. Saving lives is a part of the work of our fire EMS personnel. Their efforts, whether it be through work at a fire or in response to an ambulance call, are always a major part of life and death situations. So, if that is the case, what sets apart the call on October 31st, 2021? In truth, many things about that call set it apart from the norm. First, neither Captain Pamela Payson nor Captain John Gavlik were on duty when the call came in that a person was not breathing. Second, the on-duty ambulance crew was already on a call, and although on their way back, they were too far away to respond quickly. Third, police personnel were the first on scene and had started CPR and AED use. Fourth, Captains Payson and Gavlik immediately left their homes and responded to the site to provide the paramedic level of service necessary to accompany the CPR and AED treatment. Fifth, and most important, this team response involving police officers, which is highly unusual, but the norm here in Bucksport because of their team-based training, combined with a selfless, off-duty response of Captains Payson and Gavlik with their paramedic skills, saved a life that would not otherwise have been saved. Thank you, Captain Payson and Captain Gavlik, for your dedication to this community and your willingness to go above and beyond in responding from off-duty, and in playing a significant role in setting up the team and conducting the team-based training that now includes police personnel with a stronger role in local EMS response.
Thank you, guys. Chief, job well done for everybody. Thanks. Next item is town council minutes from 1/13/2022. Would the council like to proceed?
Motion
Make
approved.
them second.
We have a motion and a second. Jake?
Counselor Eastman,
Approve.
Counselor Morrison,
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette,
Approve.
Mayor Stewart,
Approve.
Counselor Ormsby,
Approve.
Counselor Downs,
Approve.
Counselor Rankin.
Approve.
Next item is correspondence. Several police calls, 2 for Verona and 2 for Orland, all within a week's time. Any comments or questions on those? Six is ordinances consider introduced. We have none. 7 is discussion items. The first is infrastructure committee update. Deputy Mayor Bissonnette.
Hello, everyone. I'll try. This was a rather lengthy meeting. I'll try not to be too long. There are several items on the agenda this evening. The first was a request for consideration of a community garden in Bucksport. So basically where we left that, we had some conversation around potential spaces, including the area at the corner of Summer Street and Elm Street, next to Gardner Commons and across from the parking lot next to the baseball field and playground. So we're looking at that as a potential option. Need to have Sue is pursuing that with the property management at Gardner Commons. Basically, and then looking at options for water, et cetera, there, and what costs would be. So really the committee is asking whether the council in its entirety is in favor of this type of project, and if so, taking a look at what the cost would be to the town, et cetera, and what our options are there. That really.
Questions? Yeah. And just real quick, and it sounds like it's preliminary. I guess, because I don't know, and maybe Rich can answer this. The softball field area by the Oblate, is there space up there? Or is that pretty well all tied up? I haven't been up there in a while.
That was actually brought up during the meeting. There is
Okay.
a space, but it's kind of grown in. There was a fence put around the field itself, so there's a little space out back, but not much.
Okay.
But the area where the old Boy Scout camp, I think, was the area that was mentioned up in that neck of the woods. But it would need to be cleaned out. And I don't think any water runs up there either.
Sure.
It doesn't
And-
go to the field.
Yeah. And you said Summer and Elm, that grass property kind of adjacent to Gardner Commons there, right on the corner? Oh,
Yes.
nice. Yeah, it's a great spot.
So yeah, I guess what the committee is looking for is if there's anyone on the council or any members of the council who would not be in favor of looking at this moving forward, so we can kind of have some direction there.
Any opposition or anything? Nope. So it sounds like Sue is going to keep pursuing with the Gardner folks.
I believe she placed a call to them this week. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Sue, but yeah.
I had contacted them today, and I went to sort of look at it, and they are checking with HUD and those kind of things about whether or not the property could be used. And I sent them, it was a very comprehensive packet that the group put together. I sent them a copy of that so they could understand that this was pretty well thought out. So they knew they couldn't get back to me today, but we were going to schedule another meeting in 2 weeks to see where it went from there.
There is a fair number of people who are interested in this, and I think the group that's looking at this, if I do say so, has put together a fairly, for a preliminary proposal, one that is fairly comprehensive too. If there's nothing else on the other end items on the agenda, they're really things for us to take a look at considering as we move into considerations for the coming year's budget. The first is looking at staffing at the animal shelter. Deputy Chief Winchester talked about the present staffing situation there and the differences in years past where the previous ACO was somebody who also was part-time but also worked as a dispatcher. So a lot of the work that could be done when not actually at the facility could be done while working as a dispatcher. That is not the case now. Deputy Chief Winchester has asked us to consider moving that to a full-time position with benefits. Preliminary discussion on the council was, on the committee was supportive of that. And so something for us to consider at budget time, especially as we get down to what the numbers would be, et cetera.
Yeah, Paul, just real quick on that, and maybe Sean can answer this. And that was one of the questions I was wondering, and then if you answered it, I apologize for not being there. The previous ACO was a dispatcher, and I know kind of did work while he was a dispatcher. And I'm asking, and we can have the discussions continuing, but is there some of that work that can still be done by the current dispatching staff that he was doing as a dispatcher to relieve some of the stuff that she is doing?
Maybe as a last resort, but some of that paperwork, Mr. Mayor, is actually pretty specific as to adoption and shots and things of that nature. And it all coincides with the job that she actually does throughout when she takes the animal in to the point where she adopts it. So,
okay,
as a last resort, maybe.
Nope, thank you.
There'd be extra training and stuff like that for the dispatch to take on to do that paperwork.
Thanks.
The next item, also that would be something for us to take a look at during budget, was a proposal for an increase to staffing for fire and EMS. A pretty comprehensive proposal with some history as well included in terms of staffing history, for lack of a better word, in the fire EMS departments. If I boil it down to try to keep this as concise as possible, really they're asking us to take a look at two options. One is to advertise for 3 full-time firefighter paramedics on July 1st and have that reflect in the budget. There's more to that along the lines of how some additional positions, and those positions even without muddying the waters too much, could be taken care of via grants and stuff. Probably something more appropriate for the budget conversation as we move forward, and not another 10 minutes this evening. And then option 2, similar grants, things that could look at moving forward. This is not a recommendation, but something at least for us to consider is that we hire 2 and advertise for 2 full-time positions on July 1st, and operate for all intents and purposes shorthanded or not look at the third until 2023. So again, something for us to consider as we have budget talks. Any questions on that? Last and certainly not least, it would be it was a request from the senior center to consider either a handicapped accessible van or bus for their use at present. If they do anything like that and they have any of a van or a bus to use, it's for a donation, perhaps from the RSU or somewhere else. This would allow additional people, additional seniors in Bucksport to go to and from the senior center for various activities, including meals. And would also allow the senior center to take a look at bringing people on outings and not have to schedule it through, cut out the middleman, so to speak, in terms of scheduling that type of thing. Obviously, before they move forward with looking at what the cost would be, who the drivers would be, et cetera, they wanted to know, because, cost, purchasing the vehicle, maintenance on the vehicle, that would be something that the town would, in all likelihood, need to pick up. So whether or not the council is supportive of that before they start to boil that down to what the numbers would be. Again, something for us to consider as we move into budget season.
Great, thanks, Paul. Any questions or comments? I think all of you folks were there, but if there's anybody else has any questions? Yeah, it's certainly going to be a intense budget season, I think. So tough decisions to make and a lot of things to look at. So we will hit those when we get to it. But please keep a lot of these things under the top of your minds, because they all have points and important things. So committee assignments. Not hearing any negative responses from any folks, and we've already had a committee meeting before we assigned anything. So I'm gonna go with what, unless I hear anything tonight. It's the same folks that were here the last time we were having committees. So if everybody's okay, we'll just stay on the same committees. Make it easy for Jacob to not change the website and all those things. So, all right, thank you very much. Where are we at? Agenda items. First is Resolve 2022-40 to approve the budget workshop schedule for 2022. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If you notice, it starts first week in April and basically runs every Thursday until the middle of May, and then we get a break. So I assume that the town manager will do her regular nice job of having a colorful presentation for us. And
I learned last year that you all want a book, so that you'll get a book. You won't have to get it on you'll all get books.
Yes.
The book was a hit. So
I think this year you should make us pick them up, but that's just me.
Any other questions or comments on the resolve? Jacob?
Councillor Eastman,
Approve.
Councillor Morrison,
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette,
Approve.
Mayor Stewart,
Approve.
Councillor Ormsby,
Approve.
Councillor Downs,
Approve.
Councillor Rankin.
Approve.
All right, a lot of work in front of us, folks. Next is Resolve 2022-41 to approve a $5,000 contribution to Main Street Bucksport. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? Eddie?
Yeah, I'll support it, but I really think we need to figure out what we've talked about it in the past about, are we going to support them more as like a branch of the town government and fund them that way? I know we've discussed it before, we just never went any further with it. I'd rather not see this happen every year, that you get your set amount and now we're going to give extra. So we do need to work on where we're gonna go with this in the future. Are we gonna just know right from the get-go that they're gonna do this much work and we're gonna contribute more money? But I will support the 5,000 now to get them through.
Danny?
Ron, I think you guys do good work. I'm really struggling with another 5,000 on top of the amount of money that we already put out there. And so it's something that listening to the presentations and listening to the things that you're doing, I appreciate those things. But I feel like budgeting for the amount of money needed during budget season is the important piece for me. For that, because it is quite a bit of money that we put forward for Main Street Bucksport. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I
Paul, go ahead.
Yep, sorry. I would just say I think I'm aligned here with Councilor Rankin's statements in terms of supporting it in consideration. You know, the past 18 to 24 months have been a set of extraordinary circumstances that I certainly hope don't continue much longer. We shall see. But my point here, and then to Dan's point, Councilor Ormsby's point, really, in terms of as we move forward and looking at this from a more proactive way, and budgeting around this, and emergencies do come up. But I would be really hesitant for anyone to take a look at this and say, because if this were to be approved this evening, that a similar thing might happen months or in years in the future without an extraordinary set of circumstances. Again, recognizing the work that Main Street Bucksport does, understanding the transition that you folks have gone through in the past 6 to 12 months, understand there's a lot on the table, but just kind of in terms of staying ahead of budgeting, that's what I would like to see as we move forward.
Anybody else on the council? Mark?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add, they could have focused last winter on survival, and instead they focused on the town. And I think that this 5,000 is, a gesture towards recognizing that effort.
Anybody else on the council? Jimmy?
Yeah, I oppose it. I don't think we should be giving them an additional amount of money. I don't think their needs have been really shown to us in a clear manner. I think that one of the things that bothered me the most, I think, was that one of them made the statement that they actually stopped their fundraising the minute they got a grant from somebody. They stopped any further fundraising. They just went with what they had, and now it's gone. Now they're not fundraising. They're waiting for us to give them an additional $5,000.
Can I clarify that, Jimmy?
Clear it right up.
Okay, so the only thing that we suspended was our annual campaign in 2020. And that was after we fundraised $32,000 from the town. Some of that money, I think, I'm not sure exactly how much, came from the Silvernails, but the rest came from citizens and businesses that were doing well. And we as a group, and traditionally our annual campaign has brought in a couple of $1,000. So at the time we had just sent out our second ask for the Bucks thing, which all of the money that we raised, all 32,000, there was nothing in there for administration. And we did have costs involved. They were small, but certainly in time, volunteer time, we had a lot. But that was the only thing that we suspended, was not to come back to the citizens of the town and the businesses to ask for additional money when they had, pretty much given an extraordinary amount of money for that program. And we did have our annual fundraising campaign this year at the end, and we brought in, I think it was $1,300 or $1,400. So I'm not quite sure how you got really any grants or PPPs we got were more for, to keep going like everybody else. I mean, we incurred a rent factor that we didn't have. It had been graciously donated by Brooke and Mark. I mean, the bulk of our expense is a part-time ED. We as an organization could do like other organizations and not have that position. The problem would be is that we would be like many of the others, like the Historical Society and others. We probably couldn't do as many events nor get as many grants as we have gotten. Again, one of the things you got to remember, normally grants give you very, very little money for administration.
Any other questions?
Does that answer it at all, Jim?
Yes, thank you.
I just want to mention, over the last 24 months, we've had other groups come to us and we've, given extra because it's been needed. This has been different and extraordinary times, and when you look at what was accomplished by these folks, and what we hope is going to be accomplished, to Dan's point, and I think to Jim's point, going forward in the budget process, that is something that we want to keep, that we want to maintain and make sure we keep an eye on. But the things that have happened and the folks that have come to us and asking for assistance and the programs that they did do and were able to do, that were able to help the citizens and the businesses, I think there's a payoff here that is probably worth it for this time here. So, anything else? Jacob?
Councilor Eastman?
Approve.
Councilor Morrison?
Oppose.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette?
Approve.
Mayor Stewart?
Approve.
Councilor Ormsby?
Oppose.
Councilor Downs?
Approve.
Councilor Rankin?
Approve.
The next is Resolve 2022-42 to approve the sewer commitment for the October 1st, 2021, December 31st, 2021 period in the amount of $227,397.07. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? Jacob?
Councilor Eastman?
Approve.
Councilor Morrison?
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette?
Approve.
Mayor Stewart?
Approve.
Councilor Ormsby?
Approve.
Councilor Downs?
Approve.
Councilor Rankin?
Approve.
Resignations, appointments, assignments, we have none. Item and just, I'm going to mention it now along with this item that first of the week, if we could get signatures, stop in and grab that one, and if this one is passed, we'll have to sign this one also. So approval of discharges, deeds, and quick claims. It is tax lien discharge for Sonia A. Harriman, map 33, lot 26, 5/3/1962, 5/14/1985, 5/19/1986 to authorize the town manager to sign. I guess I need explanation on that, Sue.
In doing deed work for the closing on a house, which is happening, a property which is happening imminently, the law firm discovered these undischarged liens, and in order to move this sale forward, they needed this signed, and so they prepared this quitclaim and had put it. You have the authority to authorize me to sign this on your behalf, and that's what the way it was presented by the law firm, and then they would record this as part of the sale.
Okay, Thank you. That one got me for a second. I hadn't seen that one before. So how would the council like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? So this is to authorize the town manager to sign off on this one for us, and I think Danny, this was before you were born, probably. So
1982.
1963, I think, was one of them. So, all right, Jake, go ahead.
Counselor Eastman,
Approve.
Counselor Morrison,
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette,
Approve.
Mayor Stewart,
Approve.
Counselor Ormsby,
Approve.
Counselor Downs,
Approve.
Counselor Rankin.
Approve.
All right. So the only we need to sign for is the sewer commitment one. Is that correct, Sue?
Yes, we do need.
All righty. Next is town manager report.
Our Community and Economic Development Director, Rich Rotella, learned today actually that the Pan Am CSX sale is actually going to move forward for the rail here. It's been tied up in legal haranguing for some time now. And in mid-April, it's supposed to become effective. At that time, the town will be able to find out what their long-term plans are for the rail line in Bucksport. As many of you are aware, we had another serious accident on that road at a railroad intersection, again, for a rail that's not operating in Bucksport, but because it's part of the federal rail system, you can't just pull down the signs. There's a process to go through. So finding out what their plans are for the rail and encouraging them to take action if they're not going to utilize it, I think would be in our best interest from a public safety standpoint if they're not going to be used, and for possible economic development ideas if they're not. So I was pleased to hear that we might be able to get off ground zero with trying to even have a communication with them, because while it's been in this transition period, the old one doesn't want to talk to you and neither does the new one. So that's railroad news. Our code enforcement officer has started assembling a list of properties that are abandoned or vacant here in Bucksport, and would like to meet with the council when he completes this inventory to discuss some strategies for addressing them. With the need for housing in the community, finding ways to make these properties usable again would help, but also it would help to prevent squatting situations that could have negative results, such as the one did in Bangor. But I think I'm really encouraged by his initiative in taking on this project. I've had public comments about abandoned and vacant houses and those kind of things, lowering property values and creating issues. So this process, at least we'll have an open discussion about how big the problem is and if there's anything the town can do to try and help it. The medical center is expecting a shipment of KN95 masks, which are the type recommended by the CDC. When those are received, they will be locating them at different locations here in Bucksport, and we will be posting that information when it becomes available. According to Deputy Chief Winchester, he and Officer Schmidt are waiting for notification to go to Connecticut to pick up the K-9 that Officer Schmidt will be training with, and that training starts in March. Deb Fallows, who along with her husband Jim visited Bucksport last summer and wrote the blog about the community, and who was also the person who nominated Bucksport to USA Today for inclusion on the Best Small Coastal Town in America competition, is now working on a follow-up piece on which the list of 82 ideas that came forward from Heart and Soul stand. And we've gone through the exercise of updating all that information. I didn't include a copy, but I will send it to you, of the updated status of all those 82 ideas. I am extremely pleased to note that many of the ideas have either already been accomplished or are in progress. thanks to both the efforts of the town and of many local groups. It's an impressive list. I'll send it to you. And I also did attach to your report a copy of an email that I received from Doug Knobloch, the chair of the library trustees, that recognizes the good work done in response to an incident at the library by officers Matthew Schmidt and Chris McCrillis.
Thanks, Sue. Any questions?
No, I had a person call in with comments, but I'll wait till we get to the comment section.
Okay. Council have anything on that? Rich, what do you foresee happening with the railroad? Any thoughts?
Well, there's no end user in Bucksport, and this past summer before the holdup, Luke and I had already made some contact out with some state representatives in regards to potential rail trails. Their focus right now is on Brewer and connecting Matthias and Calais, but that could be one way that we can go. One of the things we'd like to do really quick is from the gazebo behind House Pizza, which was identified in the ADAPT report, and getting that space opened up to provide more green space for the town.
Great, thank you. All right, next is for public hearings or hold public hearings or approval. I don't believe we have any. Discussion items not on the agenda for the council and the public. So you said you had a call?
Yes, Dorothy Blair called and she was trying to get in to comment on the bus discussion. Dorothy is a member of the Senior Resource Committee and called to offer some suggestions that looking at auctions or those kind of things for a used vehicle could be one way to save money, and that another use for the bus would be in situations where sometimes when there have been fires at some of these housing complexes, the idea of having someplace, a bus or something for the residents to get on, that it would be, this vehicle could be used in those instances as well.
Anybody on the council have anything? Danny?
I just wanted to bring up, this past week we had pretty legit snow in the morning, and one of my teachers who's retiring next year made it a point to stop me in the hallway. She drives from Orrington. She came through and said that, and I quote, "Bucksport needs to make sure we teach the surrounding communities how we do our roads." She said that she never feels safer than when she's driving through. She hits the Bucksport line and gets all the way through Bucksport and then back through, and then the roads, get a little bit more dicey after that. And she said that she's really appreciative of our town crew and however we're doing them, to keep it up, because it's something that really concerns her on a snowy day. So.
Great, thanks. So we won't bother to tell them we've heated all the roads.
That's right.
Thank you. And I'm sure Sue will pass that on, or if anybody sees folks from the town crew. I know the other day there, when there was a rainstorm and they were out cleaning gutters out and stuff, I drove by and talked to a couple of them, and didn't envy that job that day.
Yeah, she went on to talk about even through the town and back, some of the back roads, how well they were, and they were plowed and salted and sanded, and so she was pretty impressed.
Great. Anybody else have anything? So I know you had asked about the Spirit of America Award. Is that something we were going to pick tonight, or are we going to?
Well, people were supposed to be coming up with ideas, but I haven't had anyone give me any ideas.
Well, like we normally do, it's probably going to be at one of these meetings where we're all sitting here and everybody comes up with an idea. And I'm just going to throw out, you mentioned the fallows, the amount of press and different things that they garnered for us as a community, I thought was pretty impressive, and the stuff they're continuing to do. I would put their names forward as possible recipients of that.
Mr. Mayor.
Chief.
If I may, just elaborating on what Mr. Ormsby said, everyone knows we do have another substantial storm they're talking about coming up this weekend, later Saturday and a Sunday. I just wanted to get it out to the public that we do have a few extra crews we're trying to get in so that they'll be here in case of emergencies, and we do in fact have the warming center on standby if we do get to that point.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
just
Paul.
real quickly, just another consideration perhaps for the Spirit of America Award. Yours is a good one. I would also perhaps suggest the Silverdales.
That was my other thought too, so thank you. Anything else? Next is upcoming public hearings and topics, committee assignments and scheduling. Just a reminder that our next meeting, we have a goals and objective. I am seriously leaning towards getting back in person. You know, I will talk to the town manager to see what it looks like in a couple weeks, but Kathy, you guys meet in person down in Augusta?
We met yesterday in person, and they're reviewing what's going to happen in February.
Yeah,
And
know.
they have the State of the Union on February 10th.
I saw that.
And that's going to determine, too, if they're going to even hold that, you know, publicly for everybody.
I know one of the concerns, and again, this is tough, but if we're going to be wearing masks, I think it's tough to hear folks when they're talking, you know, so we're going to have to all have our best voices on if we do want to meet in person, if we are required to wear masks. But Sue and I will discuss it, and we will give everybody ample notice, you know, at least a day or two to make a decision so we can go from there. But if that's okay, I'd just like to keep looking at that and get us all back together if possible, especially, you know, going into where we want to have, you know, good discussions and be able to be face to face and getting towards budget season. We're going to have some, it's a heck of a lot easier, I think, to do it in person. So. All right. I don't believe we need, oh, Paul?
Yep. We do need to schedule another infrastructure committee meeting. And in that meeting, I said perhaps we could do it later in the evening, but if we're going to do it on February the 10th and we're meeting at 6 for the goals and objectives, then we probably would need to do that at 5:30.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Richard?
can I also get an appointments committee meeting for the 10th? I only need about 5 minutes. It's to appoint someone to the board to replace Frank Dunbar's position. The committee's already made its recommendation.
Yeah, okay. We'll put them both at 5:30. I don't think we need to go at 5 o'clock for a 5-minute meeting and then have everybody hang around or sit there. So we'll go 5:30.
Post a joint meeting
A
for
joint
services
meeting.
and infrastructure.
Perfect, thank you.
And then there will be a Community and Economic Development Committee meeting on the 15th of February.
Zoom, you think, or in person? I'm not quite sure yet.
Our meetings are based off what the town council is doing. So if these meetings are going to stay Zoom, then ours will as well.
Okay.
We also have a cemetery committee meeting on February 1st, Tuesday, and we have received 2 quotes for the cemetery repairs. We put that out to bid. If you remember, we were going to look at what the Oak Hill Cemetery and Moulton Cemetery repairs and the cost of relocating the stones from Riverview up to the site at 917. And we have 2, we sent out a number. We got back a couple of that they were not, one was too busy and one was not prepared for some things, but we do have 2 bids, and the cemetery committee will be discussing those at their meeting, which is at 11 o'clock on the 2nd, and we had schedules, Chairman Downs we had scheduled out meetings. We've had a committee member suggests that we should change our meeting tonight so another committee member could be there. I'm sure that will also be a topic for the discussion on Tuesday. But the hope is to have a recommendation from the cemetery committee on moving forward in some form with the bids that we received from the RFP that went out for those cemetery repairs. I just wanted to.
And I just want to clarify, you said the second, but I think Tuesday, you did say the first earlier, so it's February
I'm
1st.
sorry, it's Tuesday the 1st.
Okay, too many twos.
Too many
All right.
hours in this building at this point.
Anything else, folks? All right, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Have a great night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Good night.